Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how I make the checklists I use for my assignments. I'm just going to redo this one and I'll show you guys how I do it on this one. It's a blank one. So I first begin by just looking over my assignment list or like the course calendar for the session. And then from there, I pick out like the assignments, the lectures, the exams, most importantly. And then I go through and look at the dates and see which dates they are due. So I begin by usually just making, so this is actually just a blank Excel sheet. This is Microsoft 2016 or 17. It's like the newest one. You'll see everything here, but I go up to page layout and I like to do the print, feature just so you can see like your lines right here. This is where it's going to stop printing. So it's very important, especially for this type of document, because you don't want like multiple pages of like boxes everywhere. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to margins, hit custom, and then I usually just put them at like 0.25 with a zero header. I do this all throughout. And then I center it horizontally and vertically on the page. So you can see here that it goes in the middle, which is nice to have. So it's all set up. The next thing that I do is I just kind of set aside my boxes. So this area is going to be huge for when you're formatting your assignments. I pick out the community, my topic right now is going to be community health. So what I do is I usually keep the top line, like B1 through whatever, as my topic or my thing, and I just type in my or like the class name. The next thing I do is format it with the session that I'm taking. And sometimes this will come up. So what I usually do is I just kind of take right click, format cells, custom, text. And it'll come up as a bunch of numbers. So you just have to go back in and type your thing. From here, I will go into the date that I have the lecture or assignment due on, a lecture, the assignment, and done. Now you'll notice here that I have it a little wider than normal, and that's okay. I usually just go back and kind of edit things to make sure they're working and fitting right. So bear with me on that one. I'll go back and finish it once I fix everything else. The next thing I do is I want to merge these two boxes together. Now, I said earlier that these boxes or like this area up here was going to be really, really important for picking out or just formatting your whole document. So this box basically just merges the two cells together I have over here into one, and it's supposed to center it, but it only centers it this way. So then I go up here and I middle align it to the box itself, so it looks equal. After that, I go through and I put in my weeks, but I start week at a time. I only do 1 week at a time and then 1 day at a time. Reason I say this is because this just going to be so messy with trying to figure out what goes where, and then you're deleting things, you're losing things. It's not good. So just do it 1 day and 1 week at a time, and I'll show you how I do it all with combining boxes and everything like that. So this was my first day, I should say, May 1st. And like I said, it's going to pop in and just like see it as an error. So I'll highlight the entire column, hit format cells, text, and it'll come through again as numbers. So you're just going to go back and put in as May 1. And it'll remember that for the rest of this column here. So I'm going to also center it and align it in the middle, but you're not going to see it align in the middle yet because it's not that big of a box yet. After that, I write in like whatever lecture I was having. I'm just going to copy word for word what I had on my assignment here. So you'll realize that when you go to hit enter, it just goes into the next box. So what you'll want to do is you're going to click on it and hit wrap text. So what that does is it just basically takes that whole line of text and it makes it into one box. So it's not a continuous line. Again, for this one, I don't usually, well, I take that back. I actually do align it just because that's just what I decided to do. But yeah, so I'll just do align and then center for that one. And then I go in and I type in my assignments. So my first assignment for that day was to read ATI Chapter 1. So that's the first day. Then you just keep going through the second one. And this one's going to get a little tricky because I had 3 assignments to do on this one day. There's my assignment, or sorry, my lecture. Again, you can go through and just hit wrap text, or if you wanted to, you can just hit wrap text for everything in this column and it'll do it automatically for you. This one I had a math exam, but I had 2 other assignments, so I could just do ATI Chapter 1. Sorry, Chapter 1, ATI Chapter 3. And then you'll notice that these boxes aren't in line with what happened on May 3rd. This is where that that merge and center box really comes in handy. So you just hit merge and center, and you go back and you align it, and that's basically it. You can actually also just kind of adjust these to however you want. You can make them wider based on how big you want your text to be. And just keep going through. For this one, since it's a math exam, I can actually just go like this too and hit align in the middle, that type of deal. But because this math exam is so big with text-wise, you can just double-click the box that it's in, and it'll automatically format it to how big you have your text. So if you had it as size 18, it's automatically going to do it. But if you had it at a bigger size, whatever, it'll automatically fit to the size that you have of the text. So I'll go back and do that. So my next one was May 6th. This was a Sunday, and I've actually gotten into the habit of just making separate separate categories for assignments. So these are my lecture days here, and this is like my assignment day. So I'll put assignments, and I had 3 assignments that do that Sunday. So that, I also had 2 practice quizzes. So like I said, this one is, you see it's out of the lines here. So you could either double click this, like where your column is at, and it'll automatically format it, or you can hit wrap text. But since I have it like this, I'm just going to hit, well, it's going to do wrap text, but you can also make it wider too. You could do both. It really depends on what you want to do. So then I go through, and these are my assignments, my 3 assignments for that day. You hit merge and center. You're going to be doing this the entire time you're making an Excel sheet. It will help you tremendously with trying to organize and format the things that you want in your checklist. So just keep that in mind, that these 2 buttons up here will be like your best friend throughout the entire process. So then I'm going to go through and pull these down because they're all 3 assignments due on that same day. And then because I left week 1 empty, I am going to go back and highlight the boxes that is everything for week 1 and hit merge and center. So it automatically aligns at the bottom, and you can go back and hit in the center as well as in the middle. But then what I also do is I will turn it to rotate text up. So if you missed that, it's this little button up here with like an arrow orientation, and you hit rotate text up, and it basically turns your text on a side. To make it a little narrower, if you wanted to, you could, like for me right now, I have this going through, like it's not wrapped or whatever, so it just kind of is like all one continuous word. So I'm going to go through and hit wrap text. Actually, it didn't work, but so I made the column a little smaller, but I can make it bigger, smaller, depending on the text size. So if I want to make it a little narrower, it's going to show up like that. So May 2018. Back to your header, your checklist title. So I had it with B through H right now, but because I'm only using it until E, I can hit merge and center, which will just take away that feature or take away what you just did, and you can go back and highlight B through E. But you'll notice here that your done column, if you do it this way, whatever, it's over your print line. So you're going to take, like, you see this little box here with the arrows on both sides? You're going to take that and click it and then drag it over one. And so now it's your print line right there. You're going to do this throughout the entire, your entire checklist. So I like to format mine with different fonts. So I'll show you the one I like. It is called, where is it? KG I Need a Font. So I use this for pretty much all of my assignment checklists and anything that I like personally use, just because I think it's very aesthetically pleasing to myself, to my eye. So there's that option. And you'll notice here that when I did make the text a little bigger, or I changed the font, it kind of squished everything into that box. So if you just simply double click on the box that you're in or the row that you're in, it'll automatically format it to the size of your text. So one thing I also do, and this is just my personal preference, is that I like to align my assignments here on the left side. It just makes for an easier thing on the eye, easier for you to read, that type of thing. So I also like to make it a little bigger. Again, this is your personal preference. This is totally your personal preference, totally, whatever you want to do what works best for you. So you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. I like to double click and just make sure that everything fits on the page. My goal is to get everything on one page, especially for the session. If it has multiple things, like I just made an NCLEX study guide, and it is like 7 pages long. So I wanted to make sure I could fit the most on one page at a time. That way I was saving paper, but also so that I could just fit more on the page for like studying purposes. So I usually make this a little bigger too. I mean, again, it all comes down to what you want, and just pay attention to these little blue lines here on your right. You'll also see them down here at the same time. This is the one that's the foot of the paper. So if you have text like below here, you want to move it down so that it'll print this box, except it just moved. So you'll want it to move it down there so it'll print that box. Get creative with it is really all I can recommend. I like making things fun for myself because school can get really hectic at sometimes. So I just like to make things fun for myself that I can study and just go with the plan. The last thing, or like a couple other things that I do, is totally up to you. I like to color code things. Again, completely up to you. So for my assignments, I would make the text bold. And then I would also actually write it in capital letters. That way it was kind of like, hey, you have an assignment due today. It just popped out to me. It made sense in my brain just to have it that way. And then I would also fill the text box with like yellow. I think I've done orange a couple times. So completely up to you, whatever colors that you want to put in, by all means, go for it. And then for exams, I will actually put in red text box because those are kind of important too. A lot of times I will also put them in caps with asterisk or like star signs or asterisks, I think is what they call them. So again, totally up to you. This is just how I do mine. And then for this session, I also did like the bigger assignments. I think these assignments were like worth 40 points. So I made sure to make that a different color as well. So I'm just going to pick a random color here. And there's that. So I would just make it bold and colorful. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what about all these lines? Where do all the lines come in from? So right now, it's probably not a good example. So right now I'm just going to highlight the stuff that I did. And up here next to like where you can bold, underline everything, there's this little pull down menu. You want to push or you want to click on all borders. So what this is going to do is that it's going to take everything that you've highlighted and it's going to make it into a box format, which is how I get that checklist thing to really work. Super helpful that our eyes are not like going all over the place trying to figure out where's this, where's that. So make sure you hit that just because it really organizes everything in a very efficient manner. Couple other things. It's totally up to you, but this is what I normally do. I just bold everything, make things a little bigger, that type of thing. So, right, let's say that you finished everything. So you've gotten to your finished product, which this is mine. I color coded everything pretty much. It kind of looks similar. I didn't really go too in detail with it, but that's just what I did. Usually center that. But this is like what I did here. And then also this is my finished one. So what you want to make sure that is happening, you might not always see the blue line. And sometimes, like I haven't quite figured it out yet, but you want to make sure that you go to like print preview and to see if it fits all on one page. Now mine is set up for like the color or the black and white printer, but I'll show you what it looks like in color. So you have everything in color here. You want to make sure it scales to fit, because if you don't scale to fit, you're going to have all these boxes here that is just going to be huge. So hit scale to fit and it'll all fit in one page if you did it correctly. So you can do that. To go back and look at your print areas, you want to go to page layout, hit print. Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, for some reason it's kind of finicky. I can't always figure it out sometimes because it disappears on me too, but oftentimes I've just had to go up to like print preview. It'll show up and then it comes back. If you get like these lines here where it has like the entire Excel sheet, go back and hit page layout and hit print. Uncheck print and it should go away. So again, you want to scale the fit. Guaranteed there's going to be more information here, but it's going to be a little bit more complete when you fit everything in and you can like double click the boxes and make sure everything fits into one, that type of thing. So I hope this video kind of helped. It was a very brief introduction of how I set mine up. I know I have a couple templates up on my WordPress blog, but if it helped you out, please like and subscribe to the channel and let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thank you.